What's up guys, Commander Alex here, and today we're going to be talking about all the changes in the new Vainglory 1.7 patch. So we should, I guess, just hop into things here, and I'm going to be giving mostly just the info, but also maybe some sort of personal viewpoints on why they're changing things or how it's going to affect the game in general. So first thing right off the bat here, we have major improvements to basing attacks. Basically, it makes them more reliable during lag. They also eradicated Catherine's stun bug, which is a really nice thing. That also applies to Shah's Shank, and Glaive's knockback. All of those would sometimes not trigger, and now they should be very reliable. Also, heroes will no longer attempt then fail to attack during chases. So we've all seen where you're chasing after somebody and an auto attack starts, but then the player gets out of range so the auto attack can't finish. The damage doesn't actually land, and instead you have to keep chasing again, and so you keep wasting time with doing that partial auto attack animation but never actually dealing any damage. So this way, melee stuttering won't actually happen. Instead, you will land your auto attacks every time they are initiated, which is really good. That means that, you know, Taco, when he's chasing, he's actually going to be able to get those auto attacks in rather than almost getting them and then falling back behind again and having to try and chase up again. Heroes will now continue to basic attack even when lagging, which is really good. So if you're in the middle of a fight and you start lagging out, at least you know you're still doing some damage. I mean, it's not that much, but it's something, I guess. And heroes with very high attack speed will attack at full speed despite lag. That means that if Saw's lagging, he's not going to accidentally drop a shot here and there. Every single shot is going to be as if he weren't lagging. That being said, you might not see them perfectly. And then stutter stepping and animation canceling hasn't been changed, so those still provide the same advantages, and that means that if you're really good at stutter stepping and animation canceling, you're still going to get that same boost out of it. So like Ringo, he can auto attack animation cancel with his I believe it's Twirling Silver. You can auto attack, then click Twirling Silver, and that'll get you two auto attacks together very quickly, and that'll also give you that really nice advantage. Moving on here, we have some stuff about brush and visions. Jungle monsters will no longer disappear into brush blind spots. It's happened to me on pretty much every single camp, but they'll just sort of get stuck on the in-between, and then you can't see them if you're in the brush or on your outside, or if you're outside the brush and you have to like lure them away and figure out where the heck the jungle monsters went. And then you have the brush line of sight. This is just kind of basically, if you have something in a brush that can see, you won't be able to like see around a bend or something like that, just because you're inside the brush. And then finally, one extra fun surprise from Margulat, I guess is her name or his name. Players will discover very quickly. We don't know what this surprise is, but hopefully we will find it out very soon because it should be pretty cool. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but hopefully we will find out quite quickly here. Then we have the Sanctuary, the spawn platform. Placing a large number of scout traps on the spawn platform no longer prevents it from healing you and your allies. I personally have never experienced this. I guess it'd be a bug, but I have heard about teammates who've been trolled where their allies would actually cover the fountain in scout traps so that when they based, they couldn't actually get any healing or regen, which was kind of, it's a douche thing to do, I'm not gonna lie. Moving on here, we also have miscellaneous bug fixes. Tapping your hero portrait and hero select to choose a position no longer causes the game to freak out and lock you out under specific conditions. And the Android notification icon on Live Pop now displays correctly. And Android fix on startup crashes on the HTC One M8 and Vega phones. So I guess that's really some specific stuff, but I guess if you have one of those devices, be happy, it works now. As far as skins though, we have the Shiro Cage Taka Tier 1, the Paragon Catherine Tier 2 and 3. I'm so psyched for the Tier 3. The Stormlord Arden Tier 2, Starborg Tier 2, and Killajoule 9000 Tier 2. So all of those should be pretty cool. Probably my most anticipated is going to be the Paragon Catherine Tier 3 or the Taka Tier 1. Both of those look really cool. And moving on here, we have card crafting. Card crafting is a new, really it just makes getting skins so much easier and so much less of a guessing game. I will be doing an entire video, if not multiple videos on this, but for now what you guys want to know is destroying unwanted cards and breaking them down will now give you essence, and you can use essence to create cards that you need. And the amount of essence that you get out of a card is determined by the card's rarity. And to create and destroy a card, you must tap and hold to destroy it. So basically, you tap a card, you hold it, it'll come up with a thing. If you want to destroy it or craft it, you click destroy and poof. Or actually, no, it'll come up with a tap or destroy, hold the destroy button, and then that will destroy it for you. So you can't like accidentally destroy them. And now we have ping muting. This is really, really great. It's going to cut down on the toxicity in the game. If someone's just going off, pinging you left and right, not really doing anything that's going to be productive, then you can mute them, which is really, really nice. It's going to be on the, I guess would be the scoreboard menu. I believe that's what it's called. But there's just going to be a little chat bubble. If you tap it, it'll turn red with a little like X over it, and that will mean that you can no longer hear or see their pings. And you can now party versus bots. I don't really know what the point of this was. Like, it doesn't seem like a really big deal to me. But I guess if you're a really new player and you got some friends, you can now party against bots, which is kind of cool. Private match spectators now support 4 spectator spots, which is pretty awesome. That means that when we're looking at tournaments and things, there's going to be a lot more spaces for the shoutcasters to actually sit and view the game. Also, that's going to mean if you're doing private matches, you can kind of include more people. As far as UI improvements, the larger active items now actually include smaller icons for the rest of your item build. So you also have those big buttons that you can obviously tap the active item if you need it, but you're also going to be able to see the rest of your build, which is really important for me because I've had a lot of people asking, like, where's the rest of your build? Because I was using the large active item icons so that I could actually be more exact about it, but that meant that my viewers actually couldn't see the rest of the build. So this is going to solve that issue in a way that is good for everybody. Descriptions for position select. Apparently, tapping on your hero portrait in hero select will open and close the description of how that position is typically played, and the term support has gone back to Rome because of how multifaceted the job is. So basically, you're now going to get a little description of what your actual position means, and I guess the change between support and Rome isn't that big, but it does mean that, like, if someone locks in as Rome, they may be just kind of roaming up to lane more often than actually trying to help you out in the jungle, which is perfectly fine. It's just a different style of play. The scoreboard look, the hero names have been replaced with hero portraits on the scoreboard, which I guess is good. That means that if you guys are really new to the game and can't match the name of the hero with the actual portrait of the hero, this way you're going to be able to not have to worry about that. The deselect thumbs up and down. Now, if you accidentally like thumb up a troll, you can change it and thumb down him, or if you accidentally thumb down a really good player, you can change it and thumb up the person, so that's good. And the glory box price drop has been pretty significantly reduced. It used to be 749, now it's 479, just switching around the numbers there, and that's pretty significant. That means that for about 500 glory, you're going to be able to get what you used to be able to get for about 750 glory. So that means that for the price of 2 old glory boxes, you can now get about 3 new glory boxes, which is a really big price drop, and that's going to mean that you should just get more cards in general, which everybody likes that. Moving on, here we have some gameplay changes. Lane minions now spawn at 5 seconds, jungle monsters spawn at 20 seconds, and taking a minion mine will increase the laner's minion value by 5% of gold instead of 10%. Also, the initial last hit becomes available in lane at 35 seconds into the match. So basically what you need to know is this is going to move the game along the early stages quite a bit, meaning that if you early invade, it's going to mean that you lose a lot. So your jungle monsters are going to be up for longer, so you're going to lose a lot more time in your rotation in the jungle. You're also going to lose a lot of farm in lane. So this is probably going to force laners to maybe, instead of invading with their junglers, actually go up to lane and try and get that farm, because there's just so much more farm that you're going to be losing if you invade with your junglers. So that's just a personal thing that I'm thinking that might be based towards, but obviously I don't have any exact reasoning for all this. Also, we have the barrier. Well, actually, let's just move in here to the hero balance changes. Vox has been changed quite a bit. His barrier from basic attacks and resonance bounces has been removed. That's pretty big. That means that he no longer has that barrier, which at early stages means that he can win a lot of trades just because he negates quite a bit of damage with each of those little shields. And the base health has been moved up from 632 to 1,347 to 695 to 1,465. So just boosted all the way up from level 1 to level 2, just more health in general. His base crystal damage per shot has been moved up as well from 24 to 62 to through 34 to 68. So again, just a little boost there for his crystal. And then the resonance bounce range has been moved up from 4 to 4.5. So I'd say overall probably just a little bit of a buff there to his crystal power, and a little bit to his tankiness, and obviously kind of a little bit removed to his, I guess, sustain, it would be called, with his barrier. So I think the change in the base health kind of countered the change in the barrier, if that makes sense. Moving on here, we also have Vox's Sonic Zoom. It now only fires double shots at a target if it is marked by resonance. This means that if you, say, mark a minion by resonance and not a hero, it's going to shoot at the minion even if the hero is within range. So that's going to really make it important that you mark someone with the resonance before you go on to them, and it's going to mean that you can really screw up if you accidentally mark a minion instead of marking a hero with resonance. Also, the Sonic Zoom dash movement has been reduced as far as range goes from 4.5 to 3.5. This means that there's very few things you can be able to jump through now. I don't know exactly which jumps are going to be taken away, but that means that there's going to be a lot less cool little escapes that you can do with his Sonic Zoom. And his cooldown has been moved down from 11 to 7 to 5 to 3. So the Sonic Zoom cooldown is now like just whenever you need it, it's going to be there, basically. The pulse has, the resonance amp up has been changed from 50, 65, 80, 95, 125 to 75, 85, 95, 105, 125. So the resonance for pulse actually is the same at level 5, but at level 1 it actually has an extra 25% on it. So that's really, really cool. That means that early game Vox isn't going to be so terrible, but late game Vox isn't going to get any better than he used to be as far as the pulse goes. Also, his Wait For It had a bug where the Wait For It not only bounces resonance from you, but also deals 1 instance of Vox basic attack crystal damage to you. So I've never really actually experienced this, but it sounds like basically he had a bug where he would accidentally deal damage to himself, and this fixed that. Never really experienced that one, but I guess it is good that they're fixing those little things like that. Moving on here, we have Taka, and the real changes to Taka came with his X-Retsu. The damage on it has been reduced from 330, 530, 730 to 250, 390, and 530. So that's a massive reduction across the board there. At level 3, that's going to mean that he does 200 base damage less, and at level 1, that's going to mean that he does 80 base damage less. So basically, him getting his ultimate is not game over, and him getting his ultimate to level 3 doesn't mean that he can burst anyone down. It just means that it doesn't have so much base damage, basically. You have to build crystal if you really want it to hit hard. The mortal wound duration has also been moved down from 4 to 3, and the mortal wound DPS has now been, it now has a 70% crystal ratio. Wow, that's actually very interesting. So the mortal wounds, which normally wouldn't actually do that much to you, now actually deal a lot of damage because they have a crystal ratio. So Crystal Taka could be a thing in this patch. We'll have to see. Also, mortal wound duration is refreshed whenever Taka mortally strikes the target. So that means that if you apply mortal wounds to someone, then when you auto-attack them, I believe with a critical strike, that's going to mean that it refreshes that DPS. Wow, that's actually very interesting. So attack speed Crystal Taka could be very, very interesting and very deadly. But it looks like straight up weapon Taka is going to get a nerf because his base damage on his abilities is reduced. So they're just going to be even less useful than they used to be. Alright, Scarf. His goop now applies a weaker 30% slow even when lit on fire. That's slightly interesting. So I believe it applies the normal amount of slow when it's not lit on fire, but when it is lit on fire, it still applies a passive slow of 30%, meaning that like lighting someone on fire doesn't mean that you're just allowing them to get away. It just means you're dealing damage to them and maybe getting them a little bit of moving speed, but you're probably still going to be faster than them. Also, the duration when not lit on fire has been changed from 10:15 to 8:10, basically meaning that at level 1 it has now 2 seconds less, and at level 5, I believe it is, it has 5 seconds less. So if you're going to put it down there, you're going to want to light it on fire fairly quickly so you don't lose it. As far as the burst crystal ratio on Goop goes, it has been reduced from 80 to 65%. That's actually pretty massive. That means that his goop isn't going to light people up quite as insanely. And the burn crystal ratio has been moved up from 80% to 110%. This means that the goop actual damage has been shifted away from burst damage, from it just being ignited, to slowing people and dealing damage over time to them. So the fact that it now applies a slow means people are going to have to stand in that goop for quite a while it's on fire, and it now does more damage while it's on fire. So that's going to be really interesting to see if that was actually a true nerf or a buff to Scarf's Goop. It's kind of hard to tell. Also, his cooldowns have been reduced from 14, 14, 14, 14, 12 to 10, 10, 10, 10, 8. That means that basically his Goop's cooldown is going to be a lot shorter. 4 seconds shorter on his first 4 levels, and 4 seconds shorter on his 5th level as well. So that's pretty massive. That means that he's going to get his Goop up a lot more often, probably at least twice in a fight, which is going to be really, really critical, especially if he can lay that down while it's on fire for quite a while. It's going to mean that he does a lot of overtime damage to people. And then we have Petal. Petal gains 3 seeds around her whenever she is on the spawn platform, as long as there aren't 3 seeds or pets already nearby. This allows her to have pets at level 1. Really interesting here. So I believe that's going to mean you are going to have to take your Yay pets at level 1. Or you can take your seeds at level 1, but if you take your Yay pets at level 1, you're going to have the ability to get your pets, but if they die before you get your level 2, that ability is going to be pretty much useless. So it's going to be kind of risky to go for level 1 Yay pets, but if you get to your level 2, it's going to mean that you have a quicker early game clear, and that's going to give you a slight advantage with Petal. Or if you get shut down and they kill your pets right off the bat, then that's going to mean that you have to wait till you get your level 2 and you can't do anything or get anything out of your abilities, which is kind of interesting. So basically what I'm getting out of that is that going for Yay pets at level 1 is risky but possibly very fruitful, and going for seeds at level 1 is less fruitful but less risky. The Munyon pet damage has been changed from 1262 plus 35% crystal ratio to 863 plus 40% crystal ratio. So Munions now do a little bit more damage as far as the crystal ratio goes, but base damage has been reduced a little bit. So that's going to be a little bit of a nerf for Weapon Power Petal, and it's also going to mean, well, actually, not really. For a second I was going to say that it's actually sort of a buff against Catherine, because it used to be that the Petal seeds could actually damage, but I think it's going to be pretty much the same. Anyway, here we have her spontaneous combustion. The visual effect is much clearer now. I guess that's good, but it's not really anything that affects your actual gameplay. Moving on here, we have Saw. His spin-up stacks are no longer lost upon being stunned. That's massive. That means that stunning out Saw doesn't basically mean that you win that fight right there. So that's going to mean that pretty much any stun in the game is less effective against him. And it's going to mean that he has the chance to come back after being stunned out for a little bit. Also, it fixed a bug where Saw was not able to auto-attack at full speed when at 12 stacks, meaning that if he had too much attack speed and he was at 12 stacks, he would just start losing shots here and there, and they wouldn't actually land on the correct target, which was a big issue, and now he actually does land all of his auto-attacks. And attack speed per stack of spin-up has now been moved down from 30% to 25%. So he still moves super-duper slow, but he attacks a little bit slower, and when he is stunned, he still keeps his attack speed. So, really interesting buff slash nerf to Saw. There was kind of a mixed bag there. I don't think this is going to put him in the top tier play, but we'll do with him. Moving on, here we have Fortress. His Law of the Claw now triggers full stacks of bleeding and no longer slows the target unless you overdrive the ability. So pretty much everybody does overdrive Law of the Claw to begin with, so that's not that big of an issue. But the fact that it triggers full stacks of bleeding from Law of the Claw is actually, that's pretty big, not gonna lie. It also fixed a bug where Law of the Claw only took 5 attacks to trigger, not the stated 6. Again, a pretty big nerf there actually, now that I'm thinking about that, because that extra auto attack, 6 auto attacks in a row on somebody is quite hard to achieve. And unless you do get that 6 auto attack, it really makes his DPS go down. So a little bit of a nerf there, nothing giant, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And the damage from his pets and basic attack bonuses no longer increment bleeding stacks. So, that means that your wolves aren't actually going to build bleeding stacks of people, which means they do a lot less damage. So they're going to be used for scouting, I guess, and for slowing enemies, but they're not going to be so useful for, I guess, actually dealing damage to enemies. Alright, moving on here, we have Cruel. His Spectral Weakness applies to large lane minions. This is really, really useful, so if you're in the late game just trying to clear a wave as quickly as possible, you can now smite those lane minions and get a lot of health off of them. Which is very nice, and his Spectral Weakness no longer slows the attack speed of jungle bosses, and this is actually quite a big nerf right here, because that means that soloing Kraken is going to be a lot harder especially because the real reason he was so good at soloing Kraken is because he was slow its attack speed to practically nothing, and then he could lifesteal in between all of those attacks. So now that the Kraken hits at the same rate against him, and he still gets the same amount of lifesteal, it's just going to make it harder for him to be able to take it on his own. Not saying that it won't be impossible, just a little bit harder. And today we have, oh wow, Ringo's all just got changed like hell. Alright, so Ringo's Hellfire Brew now deals 100% piercing crystal damage, not true damage. This means that his ability will now benefit from the effects of Evil Harvest, Broken Myth, and Frostburn, since it's considered crystal damage, because we promised that blue items enhance abilities. Having Hellfire Brew not benefit from these items because of an obscure damage classification nuance breaks this promise to the players. So basically this means that building like a Frostburn on him and then ulting in on someone not only deals a ton of damage to them like it normally did, but it also slows them. And building like an Eve of Harvest is going to mean that you get a lot of health back. So maybe that last minute Hellfire Brew right into somebody's face could give you a ton of health back, bring their health down a lot, and actually win a fight for you, when it used to be that you would ult into them and they'd take a lot of damage, but during that time they were dealing so much damage to you, it just wasn't worthwhile to end a fight with it. Also, the Hellfire Brew crystal ratio has been moved down from 90% to 75%. It's a pretty big nerf there. Crystal Ringo really wasn't that prevalent as far as high tier play goes, but that does make it slightly less useful, although I guess that is slightly counteracted by the fact that he can now proc things like Evil Harvest, Broken Myth, and Frostburn. And it now they fixed a bug where the burn debuff was not blocked by reflex block. That's just a little thing. Just a bug, but it did actually probably result in a couple of deaths here and there, so RIP those guys. Fixed a bug where this ability could be activated on targets outside of vision range. That's actually, I'd say, quite a bit of a nerf there, because the fact that you could ult onto somebody without seeing them meant that you could use it not only as damage, but you could also use it as sort of like a tracking tool, which was pretty useful. So I guess that's a slight nerf there. But overall, I'd say the fact that you can now proc things like Broken Myth and Eve of Harvest and Frostburn makes it a lot more useful. And then finally here we have Koshka. Her pounce damage has been moved down from 120, 440 to 80, 400. So just a little bit of a nerf there. Nothing too crazy, but that is going to mean that she's a little bit less viable. Still probably going to be one of the top tier jungle carries. Moving on, here we have item changes. The active item stacking of Fountain of Renewal. Using an active item will now put all other identical items on cooldown. This means that stacking things like crucibles and fountains, I guess if you want to stack a pauldron, those are not going to be useful, because once you use one, the other one's going to have like a 60-second cooldown, so it's just not useful to do. This means that it's going to be a lot harder for tanks to build against a certain type of carry. So say that a team is 100% weapon power, or rather 100% crystal power, and you want to help out your team, and you're going to build a bunch of crucibles and a bunch of fountains, and you're just going to make sure that they don't take damage. You can't do that now, because really the max amount that you could build would be one crucible and one Fountain of Renewal, and then there's really not much that you can do for your teammates. So it's going to be a lot more useful to spread those items out. So one person builds a fountain, another person builds a fountain, the third person builds a fountain. That way you still get the 3 fountain heals, but they're spread out across 3 different people, so it doesn't put everybody's on cooldown at once. So that's pretty useful. Also, the Fountain of Renewal no longer provides reduced healing after reaching 600 heal. This means that if you do spread them out like that and heal one after the other, you can still keep each other alive from almost near death, but you're not going to put each other's on cooldown. So actually, what I think this is really aimed at is meaning that you can't stack items, but if you spread them out across your team and use them in a smart way and coordinate them, you're going to be able to still pull off those really crazy heals and keep yourselves alive really well. So I'm actually really interested to see how that affects team play, because I feel like it's going to make the Fountain of Renewal and Crucible and things a lot more prevalent in ranked play, if you're in like a party where you have voice and stuff and you can communicate, that sort of thing. Also, the Atlas Pauldron it used to have an extremely powerful effect that in essence was unpreventable, and now it has a 0.8 second charge up before applying its effect to nearby enemies, so you do have the chance to possibly be able to get away from it. Also, the Bone Saw, the shred per stack has been moved down from 10% to 6%, and the max stacks have been moved up from 5 stacks to 8 stacks. So It used to be that the max amount of shred you could get was 50%. Now the max amount of shred that you can get is, I believe, 80 or 48%, if I'm not mistaken there. So pretty much the same amount of max shred, but it's going to take quite a bit longer to get there. Check my math on that, by the way, because I did just do that right off the top of my head there. Moving on, here we have the Stormguard banner. The Stormguard banner now gives you 100% health, or plus 100 health. The Warhorn now gives you plus 100 health, and Contraptions give you plus 200 health, minus 100 gold cost. So the Contraption, a little bit cheaper, a little bit more utility with the extra health, and the Warhorn and Stormguard banner just got a nice little boost there with the health. So overall, I'd say utility items got a boost in this patch. Really nothing bad was added there, just a lot of good stuff. And then moving on here, we have the reflex block. The barrier has been moved up from 20% to 25% of missing health. This means that it's going to be a lot more useful, even if you use it earlier to block things like a Ringer ultimate. Because it used to be that you would reflex block a Ringer ultimate when you were full health, and yes, you would block the block the burn, but since you weren't actually missing any health, you actually wouldn't block the damage from the Ringer ultimate, if that made sense. So this means that even if you're missing a tiny bit of health, you're actually going to be able to get quite a beefy shield off of it. And then finally here we have infusions. Infusions were still too powerful with too little trade-off, inspiring players to infuse all game long regardless of the scenario. And now the weapon and crystal power per level has been moved down from 6 to 5. So a little bit of a nerf there on infusions. Still, I'd say it makes them really, really viable and really, really useful. But probably just a little bit of a nerf there, making it less useful to use them all the time. And I believe that is it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscription, and become a Lieutenant today, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. See ya.